Good morning to you. Look, I have to be honest, I don't like the organised ones. I'm letting off fireworks in my back garden tonight like a lot of other people. So on the basis that that is happening, how do we do that safely?
I think, it picks up on your previous item about the cost of living crisis and things like that. And what we're advocating is people attend organised displays. We know that there's less injuries occurring in these different places. There's first aid available at the time in case anybody does get hurt. And it's a lot safer. And indeed, it's a lot cheaper than actually buying the fireworks yourself. I think fireworks have just got to be treated with respect in the fact that they are explosives and you are bringing explosives into your home. And if you are going to have a display at home, whilst we advise you to try and go to organised displays, if you are going to have one at home, there's a few things that you can do to try and keep yourself safe. Things like if you are having a party, making sure that you're not consuming alcohol when you are setting the fireworks off. It's important that people look at the boxes when they're buying fireworks. Some of the fireworks that you buy will have a distance of 5 metres. Some will have a distance of 25 metres. So it's all about planning about where you're going to have your display. What's the impact of that display going to have on your neighbours? Have you got a garden big enough to do that? Because discharging the fireworks in a public place is a criminal offence. So doing things like that, only lighting one firework at a time. We advise also that you never return to a firework once it's been lit. Give it some time if it doesn't ignite. And the key thing is to buy fireworks from a reputable retailer. Make sure you're buying them from shops and things like that, and that the fireworks that you are buying have some form of certification, whether it's a CE mark or a UK conformity standard markings on them. That's the key things. Certainly in Tyne and Wear, what we're seeing is people selling fireworks from the back of cars, from vans, etc. We've been quite successful working with Northumberland Police, Trading Standards and other partners and trying to seize those and get them off the street. Because the fear is, if you're buying things and you're tempted by the cheaper prices and you're tempted by buying things out of a car, you've got to think how are those explosives being stored? What are you bringing into your house? It's really important that you actually buy them from a recognised retailer and go down that route.
Simple question, but some people will think I'm daft for even asking it. But what do you think about sparklers?
I have a personal view in terms of, sparklers burn at around, over 1,000 degrees. So as a parent, you think, why would I get my daughters to hold a blowtorch, which is in effect what it is? It's a really hot piece of metal. The only safety feature in there is the fact that you've got a piece of metal at the bottom which will prevent it burn all the way down to your hand. You've got to think about how those sparklers are going to be used if you are going to use them. So naturally, we would be suggesting that you don't use sparklers, but where you do use them, make sure, if you are with children, make sure the children are supervised. Make sure they're wearing a glove so they can protect their hands. Try to get them not to swing them round, which is, the instinct that people want to do. But you've also got to think about the clothing that they're wearing. If they're getting dressed up for parties and, bonfire parties, if they're wearing costumes, sometimes costumes aren't to the right standards in terms of flammability because they're a toy as opposed to a fabric. So you've got to think about that as parents as well. And once they're disposed of, you've just got to make sure they're going into a cold bucket of water.
What concerns me, Phil, in all of that? You come up with, very good, very sensible tips, right? But there just seems to... Is there an element of killjoy about what people generally say nowadays? Because we've been doing this for decades and decades and decades. Well, I have. Accidents, I've never seen an accident. Accidents must be comparatively small, but serious when they happen, though, obviously. Do we endanger or risk sort of bringing about the idea that fireworks are much more dangerous than they are?
Fireworks are explosives by their very nature, and they've just got to be handled very, very carefully. And providing they follow the advice, and advise people to look at the local fire and rescue service websites for advice on how to actually handle them, follow the instructions on the box. Don't use alcohol when you're doing that, and make sure you've got the distances safe. We just want people to have a safe bonfire night. The easiest way to remove the risk is to attend an organised display rather than do it in your own home. But nonetheless, people will want to have their own displays. And yes, injuries whilst they're low, and we've had a positive start, certainly in the northeast where I'm from, we've had a positive start to the bonfire season in terms of those injuries. You're right, those injuries are life-changing when they do occur. And it's where, I suppose, you have that level of risk within your household in terms of what you want to do. Because we can't, whilst we want to try and change human behaviour, to try and get people to go to organised displays, we recognise that people still can buy fireworks and will want to buy fireworks.